Hello dear learners, I welcome you all to the today's session on MCQs from social pharmacy, that is health education and community pharmacy, and we are about to start with the part 7th of epidemiology chapter. We are going to discuss few of the MCQs from the chapter epidemiology. So to start with the first, the immunity produced by stimulation of antibody producing cells or by formation of antibody in other animal or person is dash. The immunity which is produced either by the stimulation of cells which secretes or which are responsible for antibody release, or by formation of antibody in some other animal or person is, whether it is acquired immunity, whether it is natural immunity, whether both of them or none of them. The correct answer is it is acquired immunity. Now how is it so? We'll see now. This immunity, as we all know, it is classified into two, basically natural and acquired. Now natural immunity is a God gifted immunity which is not sufficient for protecting the body from the microbial diseases. Therefore, the additional immunity which is acquired either by stimulation of antibody producing cells or by introducing antibodies from another person or animal is required, which is known as acquired immunity. Acquired immunity, as we all know, it is divided into active and passive, and active and passive are further subdivided into natural and artificial immunities. So with respect to the question concerned, when the question was like, when the immunity is produced by stimulation of cells which produce antibody or formation of antibody from other animal or person, such immunity involves which type of immunity? It is like, as you can see here in the image, this is artificial immunity which is induced by vaccination, which will produce antibodies. Whereas you can see here in the case of passive immunity, in case of artificial passive immunity, this immunity is produced by injecting the antibodies containing the preparations known as antisera or sera. So these are produced within the animals, usually horse or sometimes in person, and it is injected to the concerned person. So this type of immunity is acquired immunity. Next question is, God gifted immunity is, whether it is natural immunity, herd immunity, passive immunity, which of these? So the correct answer is it is natural immunity. Next question is, active immunity can be, the options are whether it is naturally acquired active immunity, artificially produced active immunity, both of them or none of them. The correct answer is it is both of them. Naturally acquired active immunity is also there, which is the result of natural infection produced by the pathogenic microorganism, or maybe a clinically recognizable disease. And active immunity can be artificially produced also or artificially acquired also, wherein it is acquired by the administration of the specific vaccine. And when these antigenic substances will be introduced into the body, they will stimulate the production of antibodies and they will develop the defense against the pathogen. So active immunity is of both the types, naturally acquired also as well as artificially acquired also. Next question is, passive immunity can be naturally acquired or artificially produced, or both of them or none of them. The correct answer is it is both of them. It can be naturally acquired also, whereas in case of passive immunity, when it is naturally acquired, in this type of immunity the antibodies are transmitted from mother to fetus, that is transplacental transmission, and this imparts immunity to the infant. And artificially produced passive immunity, in this case it is produced by injecting the antibody containing preparations known as antisera and all. So the antibodies which are first produced in the animals and persons, and then it is injected to the concerned person. So passive immunity and active immunity, as you can see here in the image. Active immunity, which is acquired active immunity, can be natural as well as artificial. Acquired passive immunity can be natural as well as artificial. In case of active, it is either infection or vaccination, and in case of acquired passive, it is from the transplacental transmission or maternal antibodies or monoclonal antibodies. So the next question we will see. The next question is the type of immunity which is developed slowly but it is long lasting. The immunity which is developed slowly but remains for longer time, whether it is active immunity, herd immunity, natural immunity or passive immunity. The correct answer is it is active immunity, which is slowly produced but it is longer lasting. Next question is the type of immunity which is developed quickly but it is short lived. The type of immunity is whether it is active immunity, cellular immunity, natural immunity or passive immunity. The correct answer is it is passive immunity. So you can remember it this way. So automatically you will remember about the passive immunity if you will remember one. So the trick is SALA, slowly, active, long lasting. S-A-LA. So SALA, slowly, active immunity, long lasting. So it is SALA, which is quickly developed through like your from mother to the fetus. It is in case of natural, and in case of artificial it is the antibodies are injected through antisera, etc. So the passive immunity is quickly developed but it is for shorter period. Next question is the type of immunity produced by introduction of already formed antibodies is whether it is active immunity, cellular immunity, natural immunity or passive immunity. The correct answer is it is passive immunity. In case of passive immunity, the antibodies are first formed within the person or an animal artificially, and the antibodies are injected. The preparations are injected which contains antibody. So this type of immunity is passive immunity, which is artificially produced. Next question is ingestion of microorganisms by certain body cells whereby they are rendered harmless is antibody production or endocytosis, phagocytosis or all of them. The correct answer is it is phagocytosis. It is the process wherein the microorganisms by ingestion into the body cells and by engulfing them they are rendered harmless. So this is a kind of natural phenomenon which exists as a defense mechanism. Then next question is lack of power of the body to resist the infection is called. Lack to resist the infection is immunity, susceptibility, heredity or none of them. The correct answer is it is susceptibility, whereas the power of the body to resist the infection is immunity and lack of power of body to resist the infection is susceptibility. Next question is subgroup of T lymphocytes required for one type of immune reaction are called, whether they are called as helper T cells, killer T cells, Hitler T cells or all of them. The correct answer is it is helper T cells. Whereas in case of active immunity, you know that in case of cellular immunity, it is the it is through the T lymphocytes, and these T lymphocytes which helps in the type of immune reaction or the subgroup is called as helper T lymphocyte. The cells will recognize the antigen and then the antibodies are secreted which will destroy the antigens, and some are memory T cells. So amongst these, the helper T cells is the correct answer, because this is one of the subgroup which is required for immune reaction. Next question is, the type of important most active immunity is whether it is herd immunity, cellular immunity, humoral immunity, or none of them. The correct answer is it is cellular immunity. In case of active immunity, the amongst the humoral and cellular immunity, humoral immunity and cellular immunity are the two subcategories. So cellular immunity is the most important immunity because it takes care of the most of the microorganisms. Next question is, lymphocytes works by whether by recognizing the antigenic substances, by activating the macrophages, by releasing certain substances which destroy the antigens, or all of them. The correct answer is it is all of them. The lymphocytes works by means generally in case of T lymphocytes in cellular immunity, these will first recognize the antigens and they will produce the antibodies, and this secrete the antibodies, and next mechanism you can call it as they can activate the macrophages. Now macrophages also play an important role in the cellular immunity. And third is by releasing certain substances which destroy the antigens. Yes, lymphocytes are responsible for releasing the antibodies which destroy the antigens and recognizing the antigenic substances as well as activating the macrophages. As you can see here in the image, this RBCs, platelets, and this myeloblast will produce the granulocytes, that is eosinophil, neutrophil and basophils. Here this lymphoid stem cells, this will produce lymphoblast which will further produce this T cells and B cells, B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. So these both B and T lymphocytes play the active role. In case of T lymphocytes, this lymphocytes work by mechanism given below. We give all these mechanisms by activating the macrophages and recognizing the antigenic substances and destroying the antigens. As you can see here, the B cells and T cells. In this diagram, the B cell is saying that I attack invaders outside the cell, and T cell is telling that I attack the infected cells. So here you can see the T cells, these T cells will work inside the infected cell or they will attack the infected cell, and B cells will attack the invader outside the cell. So T cell will recognize the infected cell and B cell will release the antibody. So by recognizing the infected cell, they will kill the infected cell, and B cells will produce the antibodies and cells. This will show the action. T lymphocyte is derived from dash. Whether it is derived from thymus, pancreas, bone marrow, or none of them. The correct answer is it is thymus. T for thymus. So T lymphocyte is derived from the thymus. As you can see here, the thymus location which is below the thyroid gland. So this will produce the T lymphocytes. Next, as you can see here in the image, red bone marrow, this will produce pre-T cells, and pre-T cells from the thymus, they will be released in the form of mature T cells, and directly B cells, mature B cells are released from the bone marrow. This mature T cells and mature B cells. These T cells will produce helper cells and killer cells, and these B cells, activated B cells, will show the immune response, antibody mediated immune response, and these T cells will show the cell mediated immune response. So this is B cells will show the antibody mediated, so it is AB, B cell antibody, and T cell it is TC, that is T cells, which is cell mediated immune response. B lymphocyte is derived from, whether it is derived from thymus, pancreas, bone marrow, or none of them. The correct answer is it is bone marrow. B for bone marrow. So B lymphocyte is derived from bone marrow and T lymphocyte is derived from the thymus. Next question is, the microorganisms which is not controlled by the antibodies are, like whether it is Mycobacterium leprae, whether it is Mycobacterium tuberculosis, both of them or none of them. The correct answer is it is both of them. In case of humoral immunity, it takes care of the majority of the microorganisms, but some microorganisms like Mycobacterium species, which are responsible for causing leprosy and TB, Mycobacterium leprae and Mycobacterium tuberculosis, are not effectively controlled by the antibodies and they are escaped into the blood. So this will be taken care by the cellular immunity through T cells. Next question is, cellular immunity and dash immunity work in combination, whether it is cellular and humoral immunity, or passive immunity, or herd immunity, or artificial immunity. The correct answer is it is humoral immunity. Usually humoral and cellular immunity work in combination. The humoral immunity and cellular immunity, as you can see here in the image, humoral immunity will show their separate response and cell mediated immunity will show the defense like this way. As you can see here, in case of cell mediated, these T cells, active T cells and memory T cells, this will defend against the infected cells such as cancerous cells, and in case of humorals, these antigens will be engulfed and displayed by the phagocytes. Now here these are the B cells, plasma cells and memory B cells. These will secrete the antibodies that will defend against the pathogen. So antigen engulfment, and this is defense against the infected cell by producing the antibodies. So it is humoral immunity and cellular immunity which goes hand in hand through B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes. Next question is, active cellular immunity is conferred due to whether it is T lymphocyte, macrophages, both of them or none of them. The correct answer is it is both of them. It is conferred due to lymphocytes as well as macrophages, which play the important role in the cellular immunity. The important type of active immunity amongst the given is whether it is humoral, cellular, passive or herd immunity. The correct answer is it is cellular immunity. With this, we finish with few of the MCQs from Epidemiology part 7. Thank you and stay tuned for our next part on the same chapter, that is Epidemiology